Hi there, how's it going? Just Christy and Alonso now. We're in formation to talk about the Beyoncé movie that's out on Netflix. It's called Homecoming, a film by Beyoncé, and she directed it, co-directed it, and conceived it, and wrote it and produced it, and it is about her Coachella performance a year ago. Game-changing Coachella performance. She played on both weekends, and so you see, I mean, not chronologically, but you see like from the inception of the performance all the way through to its actual staging and stuff in between in the background. And for those of you who don't know, she put on this giant show, the likes of which had never been seen at Coachella. I've never gone to Coachella personally, because I'm an old person and I don't want to be out in the desert wearing boho chic frilly tops, but many people do and went, and it was this giant extravaganza that she planned for like a year with this giant pyramid of risers, and it was a tribute to historically black colleges and universities like Spelman and Morehouse and Prairie View A&M and schools like that. And so it had the vibe of what those bands feel like, those drum lines, those Battle of the Bands moments, and their dancers. And there was like a sorority kind of theme with letters and uniforms. And
hence the title,
Homecoming, right? Because homecoming is a huge deal at these schools, and she explains that she grew up in Houston. She never went to college because she was in Destiny's Child, and that was her college. But she had such appreciation for these schools. Her dad went to one, and for what they do to strengthen black culture and to be a really fertile ground for young minds and to connect with your culture and your identity, right? And so she really wanted to promote that on the biggest stage, literally and figuratively, that she could find.
And she was also the first black woman to ever headline at Coachella,
which is amazing.
Yeah,
and it's thrilling. It is thrilling in the way that so many of Beyoncé's performances are, and so many of her songs are. You see the whole, a great range of how her performing and her songwriting and her identity as a singer, as a performer has really evolved, because you see Kelly and Michelle come up for a couple of songs, and they do Soldier, right? And you see like how poppy and light those seem by comparison to some of her later songs, like on Lemonade, and it's a thrill. And I like the fact that it's kind of Gosby, wispy, dreamy behind the scenes. A lot of it is in black and white. Yeah. You see the work that went into it. I mean, both from a choreographical and logistical perspective, but also like she had just given birth to twins, and she'd already had a daughter, and she acknowledges that at her peak when she gave birth that she had gotten up to 218 pounds and had to get back into the kind of shape that you need to be in to have the stamina to put on this kind of show. So you see her getting ready for it. So it's a lot of different kinds of film at once, but it's really personal, and yet it is sort of a universal, relatable celebration of culture. You can feel that radiating from every second of this film, how important it was to her to put black culture on the world stage like this.
Yeah, I mean, because it is sort of this, it's simultaneously a concert film and a making of film at the same time. And you're right, they do, I think, flow back and forth in an interesting way. It's an impressive feat, just the actual staging of it, the number of people on stage, the performances that are being done, the fact that like a marching band is backing her for this like 100-minute, however long the actual show was. I'm not a giant Beyonce fan, and not because she's not awesome, but because I've always thought she was fine, and she's one of those things where she has a fan base like the one that Star Trek used to have, where you can't just sort of be like a little into her or like some of the songs. You have to be like super committed to thinking that she is the greatest product of Western civilization, or don't waste my time at all.
You're in the beehive or you're not.
Exactly, yeah. So I've always just kind of stepped back because I'm like, look, I'm not ready to commit to this level of, diva worship or whatever, and it just, I hate that choice being proffered. I think there was a whole SNL sketch about somebody, like the people were raving about Beyonce, and somebody's like, oh, I like her. And they're all like, really, you like her? That said, this movie did not like turn me into a convert, but I'm impressed with everything. I think I find it exhilarating. I think she's a hell of a performer. I think the songs are really strong. I think, yeah, she has evolved in a fascinating way that people probably wouldn't have expected just based on what Destiny's Child was all about. So yeah, I think as a documentary, this does capture this amazing moment and this sort of, feat of performance and of showmanship and stagecraft. But if you are not already super committed to Team Beyoncé, I don't know that it's gonna drag you over to that side.
I am not super committed to Team Beyoncé. Like I knew several of the songs, but not all of them by any means. But I gained a new appreciation for her as more than just a cultural icon. I gained an appreciation for her work ethic and for her vision and for pulling off something that women, and often women of color, are accused of being bitches for. And that is that she's in control, and she knows what she wants, and she knows how to make sure it gets done.
I love the meeting with her department heads where she's like, well, I'm not going to give any more notes because I haven't seen the ones that I've already given you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And the thing is, if it were a man, he'd be heralded as like, oh, genius.
She's a difficult genius.
Yes, but when, when you're a woman and a woman of color, and there's a section of the concert where I don't know who she's quoting, but it's about how, no one is disrespected like a woman like a black woman, and no one.
I think that was from MLK.
Is it? No one's unprotected like a black woman, and she's just going out and like stomping in the face of all that and saying, "Screw that, here I am," and I love that.
Yeah, there are these amazing quotes that are sort of interspersed throughout from like W.B. Du Bois and Toni Morrison and stuff, and it's the sort of thing where you think, this is a concert film, but it works. And It works with the HBCU theming. It works with what she's communicating in this show. It's the kind of thing where in the wrong hands, it could have just seemed like pretentious or who do you think you are, like bringing up, these authors for your little show. But her show carries that weight.
And it does not seem like icky self-reverence either, which it could be because it is all things Beyonce. Sure. And one thing that it's edited so beautifully because it goes back and forth between both weekends. And one weekend the outfits are all yellow, and one weekend the outfits are all pink, and her hair is a little bit different. But it's essentially the same kind of, beading and the same kind of Greek letters and the same kind of details and all of that, and the same kind of choreography for each one. And it moves so well, like within individual songs between those two weekends, and also between the backstage stuff, and it jumps around in time with planning it. And even like the planning stages aren't necessarily chronological. It's not like, we're starting from day one and working up to the concert. It hops around all over the place, which is far from disorienting. It's actually kind of exciting. It actually makes you feel like you're like on the edge right there with her as everything is about to happen. You see a bit of stuff with Jay-Z, who is like kind of adorably like deferential to her. It's like it's her thing, and he like seems to love her for it, whether or not there was any jealousy or regret that she's not home more often. Who knows? We don't see that. We see him being quiet and letting her do her thing.
Somebody on Twitter said one of the triumphs of Homecoming is that it's a divorce album without the actual divorce.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, because so many of these songs are like Becky with the good hair and all that, and you see Blue Ivy running around, and
Solange pops up.
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
I will say this: if you are somebody who has kind of sat out the Beyonce phenomenon, this is a good place to sort of take a peek into what she's about and what she's doing in 2019.
What is
or
fun,
2018.
And then what's exhilarating here and there is that she's Beyonce a lot of the time. She's very fierce a lot of the time, but then she will just crack a smile. Like she and Solange, especially when they're goofing on each other on stage, or she'll see somebody in the audience doing something, and out of nowhere, out of like the fierce persona that she's created for herself, just this radiant smile will burst across her face, and it's like, oh, she seems like a teenager all over again, just enjoying doing the thing that she loves. And so the many faces of Beyonce are on display here. So yeah, I dug it, and it might be, if I'm making a best of list, like,
really?
I kind of keep a list as the year goes on, and things drop off toward the end. But like in late April, this is a pretty staggering piece of work here. And so I'm saying 9.
I said 7.8. People should go check it out. It is on Netflix right now. And it is, it's impressive.
Yes, it's also long.
It is long.
It's 2 hours and 17 minutes long.
But still shorter than Endgame.
Everything is shorter than Endgame. Right. So it's at 97% on the tomato meter. So I really, really recommend it. You can watch it right now from the comfort of your own home on Netflix.
Indeed you can. Thank you for watching. Like this video. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And go check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay, where you can get TV recaps and trailer reviews and news items and all kinds of other cool stuff. So we hope you'll join us. Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Bye.